How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I just want to say thanks to everyone who left a comment in the previous video. Thanks very much for the feedback. It really helps with the channel growth. Yeah, really just appreciate your opinion on videos, and yeah, just thank you. Today we're going to do a little breakdown of Young Thug's new video called What's the Move? And basically this is a collab of Lonewolf and AWGE. Basically just there's so much effects in this to break down, but today I'm just going to take 3 effects. I'm going to show you how to do each effect step by step. Enough talking, let's just jump right in. The first effect we're going to learn how to do is data motion.
Person Miller brands with the walls. 35,000 for a dub. Turn to a B.I.O.B. I make it work for me. No. I make a shit up. You walk back on, no. I make a drop it and pop it and break it on my nose.
So basically, any software that I use today is going to be in the description below. It's very easy. I'm going to talk you through it step by step. And yeah, let's get into it. Right, so now that we're in Premiere Pro, we're just gonna pick 3 clips that we wanna use. We're gonna have to export these clips individually because the software that we're using, you can't do multiple clips at a time. So at the end of the clip, just press O and CTRL M on your timeline. We're gonna bring and save these clips somewhere you want. I already have these 3 clips saved, so I'm going to just use these. When you do this, just save it as a name and then cue it. Do the same for each clip here. Press I and press O. Control M. Come up here, save it as a name, and then press Q. I'm not going to do that because I have them saved. Right, so once we have that done, we're just going to come over and open up the software that is down in the description below, and it's called Data Motion. Right, so we have that software up and open now. When you're here, we're just going to create a new project, and we're going to pick a location where we want to save this. So I'm just going to click here, and I'm going to make a new folder. I'm going to call this Save. I'm going to call this Save. And I'm just going to press OK. Cool. So when we do that, format tab should open up. We're going to make this 1920 by 1080 and leave the rest the same and click save. This little window should pop up, and this is where we are going to do the work. Right, so when you get this far, we're just going to come up here to import video, and we're going to go where we saved our videos. When you go here, don't panic, just come down here to where it says .avi and change it to an MP4, and your videos should come up. Import each and every video that we have done. Now that we have them in, we're just going to come down here to the add snippet part. We're going to click on the video and add in clip 1. It's going to go through the video and it's going to stop on the last frame. That's number 92. So on our ending frame, we're just going to click 92, and we are not going to check iframes for this video. We're going to insert, and we have that here on our timeline. For the next clip, we're going to do the exact same. However, on this one, we're just going to delete the iframes. Click insert and insert that video. Same again for the last video. We're going to make sure that that is ticked, and we're going to insert. We have our 3 videos now on our timeline, and now we can just come over here to beginning iframe, click the drop down and click clip 1. Come over to export and just press export. You'll see that this tab on the right hand side says project exported. So all we have to do now is come over here to copy to and save it to a location. Once you've done that, it should save and export right to that folder where you just saved it. Now we can open up Premiere again, bring our tutorial in here, and this is how it turned out. Right, so as you can tell, it's the next day. Got a haircut and I've changed clothes, but anyway, that effect is done. So let's move on to the next one. I'm going to show you an example here of the next effect that we're going to break down. Stay tuned, and this is what we're going to learn how to do.
Oh yeah, Margie, this the one right here.
Dior, Christian, I got bitches. I get offended. Ooh, put that shit up, not your damn too. Your bitch in here shaking ass. Ooh, I been my shit like a damn. Oh shit.
Right, so if this effect is something that you want to learn, make sure you stick around. Let's jump right in. Let's do it. Bring in a photo that you want to use. So for the first example that I shown in that music video, the first photo was kind of turned into a painting. So let's just do that with this photo. So we have these shoes here and they're kind of pixelated already, which will add to the effect. I'm just going to rename that as shoe. Perfect. Right, so let's come up to our filter and filter gallery, and we're just going to make this a water paper color. So as you can see, there's a load of effects here, but water paper kind of gives a similar look to the one in the music video. So I'm going to press P for my pen tool, and I'm just going to cut out something like this. Obviously you don't need to be perfect with this, but right, so we're going to right click and we're going to make selection. So feather the radius by 2 or 3% and just press L to get the lasso tool, right click and new layer via copy. That'll give us this layer here, and also it'll give us this full layer. So we want to take that other half out. So let's control and click on the little photo here on layer 1 and it should give us our selection. We're going to right click and we're going to select the inverse and make sure that the second layer shoe is selected. Right click and another new layer via copy. That means we can delete that bottom layer. So now we have that layer and that layer. Right, so as you can see, there's a bit of a cut there. So we're going to just make this layer selected and we're going to come over to our clone stamp tool. You can do that by pressing S on your keyboard. So make sure that the layer is selected on the right, and we're just going to alt click somewhere and we're going to just alt click on the color. We're just going to come around the radius here. You just want to come around the rough outlines of it, just to kind of hide in some of those sharp kind of cuts there. Okay, cool. So once you have that done, we're just going to come over to our eraser tool. You can press E on the keyboard and select a brush that may choose this free ink brush. Just reduce the size a bit and maybe increase the size a bit. Right, cool. So now we can just come around just really close in and just take away that harsh edge. Just like so. Flip it. Another little trick we can do here is come to our window tab and get our brushes out, and you can just make this a bit bigger just to give you a few more settings and just easier to navigate. So now we're going to click that first layer and press Ctrl J, and we're just going to duplicate it. We're going to come down to the bottom one, press V, and just press Ctrl T and just bring it down a tiny bit, just like so. And now we're just going to apply a drop shadow on the first layer, like that. Right, so now once we've done that, we can come down to the bottom layer, and we're actually going to just come over to our filter gallery again, and we are just going to come over here to torn edges. We're just going to press, and we're just going to press OK. You can just bring it up a bit so it's not as harsh, like so. Cool. Right, so now let's just make this other layer appear, and we're just going to drag it on top, like so. Cool. We're just going to select everything, Ctrl T, and there we go. So now when it rips, it's going to look something like that. Right, cool. So now that's the first one. We're going to just move on to another one. So let's just do the same, get a canvas there, and let's just drag in another photo. I'm going to use this photo of Travis Scott, and I'm just going to zoom it like so. Gonna do the same again, press P, and let's just come around just like that. Right click, make selection, press OK. So for this one, we're just gonna click the top layer and we're going to make a new layer mask like this. So when we do that, we can just come over to our mask, filter gallery, and we're going to just select brush strokes just like this, and we're going to select splatter. We're going to make the edge not just as sharp, just like that, and we're going to press OK. We're going to just Ctrl J on that, and we are going to click the bottom layer, Ctrl T, drag it down a tiny bit like so. We're going to press OK, and now we're just going to come over to filter. We're going to come over to our blur, and we're going to add a Gaussian blur. We're going to add around 4%, and now we're just going to add some grain onto our top layer. Right, so filter, noise, add some noise, and 12.5% is perfect. Let's just Ctrl J that, and on the top layer we're just going to delete that little mask. So we have this right here. We're going to press Ctrl Alt on that cutout. We're going to do the same. We're going to press L to give us our lasso tool, select inverse, and a new layer via copy. We can delete that top layer now, and now we have our two layers like so. Right, so let's just drag and drop both of these in like so, and we're going to make sure that we select individual layers for both of these clips. They should come in as a folder, and we're just going to drag and drop our shoes in first. Because we forgot to merge them before, we're just going to have to do something like that. Cool, right, just drag this on top. Let's scale to frame size like so, and let's right click and replace with an After Effects composition, and we're just going to come in here and basically just add an effect like so. We're going to add a new camera like that, and let's just make all these layers 3D. You might have to come in to each individual layer, make it 3D just to ensure that it works. Let's just add in motion blur as well while we're there. So now on our original video, click your camera down, drop down, and point of interest, just set a keyframe. And let's just come up here to our camera, zoom, and let's zoom in a tiny bit like so. Add in a bit of rotation, and then we're going to come back a tiny bit. So as you can see, it's kind of just zoom in, and when we're there, we're just going to make these layers vanish. So we're gonna just click all our keyframes, and we're going to come here, and because this is the shoe layer, we're just going to drag it up. We're just going to drag it down, actually, my bad. And same again, the same time of the other layer, we're just going to set the keyframes and drag this out of the shot like so. Cool, so that gives us something like that, and we just want to make that a bit quicker. Let's just drag in our keyframes, and once we do that and enable motion blur, press Ctrl S to bring it back into here. We have something like that. Now all we have to do is just do the same for our Travis cutout. This one should be a bit easier because I remembered to merge the layers. So let's just do the exact same, scale to frame size, and right click, and we're going to replace with an After Effects composition, bring it in, same again, just make these layers 3D, and enable our motion blur. We're going to right click and we're going to add a new camera. Bam. Just bring this to the top. We're going to transform. Let's just come in and click our zoom in tool here, and let's just zoom it in a tiny bit. Let's just rotate it the other way this time, like so. And in between here, we're just gonna click our layer 1, set our keyframes, come to a bit after, drag it down. See that little bit there? I probably shouldn't have cut it out like that, but it'll still look cool. Set our keyframe and also drag that up like so. Just enable that. And also you can just highlight these, press F9 for easy ease. Do the same for these as well. Just enable our 3D, and basically we want to just set all these keyframes for a bit later, so we want it to stay there just like so. Control S, bring it in and do so. Basically once you have that done, here is how the effect will turn.
I'm the highest in the room. Hope I make it out of here.
Right, so that's the end of that effect. I hope you're able to pull it off. Let me know if you did in the comment section below, and link me out to some examples. I'd love to see your work. So now we're on to our third and final effect, and that's going to be this paint on effect as seen in this example.
Around with me, you see I'm hot, I'm 500 degrees. Heard he caught a body, what that does.
To pull this paint effect off, a lot of people usually video themselves actually drawn and then scanning it in. Today I'm going to show you how to do it in Photoshop. Let's just open up Photoshop and get into this effect. Right, so I've opened up Photoshop and I'm just going to pick a photo that I want to do this on. I'm only going to do it on one photo because I think you get the point of this after one photo. So I have this photo in, and now we are just going to rename this as number 1, and I'm going to leave that framing. I think that looks grand, and we're going to press Ctrl J on that just to make another layer. Let's just name that number 2. And let's just come over to our brush and click on the photo. It's going to make it a smart layer, and now we're just going to come to window and to brush settings. Over at the brushes, in order to add a brush in, which you might need to, I'm going to click this little hamburger and we're going to come down to import brushes. I'm going to use this thick acrylic brush. I've already added this 3 times, but for the demonstration purposes I just thought I'd show you. Right, so we have this one here, and let's just come over and reduce the size a bit. Now come over to brush settings just to change the rotation of the tip of the brush, and hit this drop down, and let's just see how this comes. So shape dynamics, just come in here. Scattering, we want this to scatter a bit and we want it to build up. So here we go. So that means every time we click, it's going to put another layer over it. So as you can imagine, it's going to go from that to that. Now on this one, we need to add a few more just a bit further down, just like so. I'm going to try to keep this width inside the line here. Like that. Cool. So as you can see, it's going to come bam, 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 like so. Now let's add in some detail to these shoes. Let's just press Ctrl J on that top layer. So we can actually rename these as 3, 4, and now I'm just going to change my brush a tiny bit just so I can get a bit more detail in. So now let's just press Alt and select the color that we want. So we want that brown, and I just want to change my brush size a bit. I'm just going to tap this As you can see, you can hold your mouse and just scribble like so. Kind of washes out the effect. So let's just do that for number 4. Control J again. Let's name that number 5. And let's just bring that color in again. Change it a bit. And I'm just going to rotate this brush like so. And then last but not least, just do another layer. The more layers you do, the better the effect will look. I'm gonna actually make this big for the Nike swoosh. Just gonna click that. Decrease the size a tiny bit. Make that outline kind of like that. And then I'm gonna come in with a finer tipped brush. Gonna just reduce that size. Another duplicate, number 7. Let's take on from where we left off. Once we have that kind of looking cool, we're just going to call this now BG for the background. So yeah, let's just come in now with a messier brush, something kind of like that, and let's just reduce the size just to get a better idea of how it's looking. Yeah, I think that will work if we, and let's just press Alt on that. And let's add another copy and do a bit more. And let's just make this 10 layers, an even number. Right, so now all we have to do is just save our layers like so. So save this as a PSD, and I'm gonna call this paint Nike, okay? And let's just save that to somewhere. Just drag in your project into Premiere. We're gonna bring them in as an individual layer, and let's come in and use this as our base. Nike number 1 to just a tiny bit after, and I think you kind of get the idea. Something like this. Can obviously reduce the time in between each frame just to make that effect go a bit quicker. So at there, I'm just going to come back down and just cut all of these layers like so. Press V. Let's delete all of them from there, and let's hold, select all the layers. I'm gonna right click and nest these. And now I'm just gonna Alt, reverse, Control or to reverse the speed, and you get something kind of like this. That's the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you learned something new. We broke down all those 3 effects. You can take these effects to a next level. I'm only showing you the bases. Obviously, if I was going to implement this into a music video, into one of my videos, it'd take a lot more time and actually be a bit more creative with it. Saying that, I hope you enjoyed the video today, and if you did, make sure you leave a little comment in the comment section below. Give me a little like and subscribe to the channel to see more content on this channel. But saying that, I'm trying to think of if I have anything more to say. I don't. Thanks very much for watching, and
Dior, Christian, I got bitches rockin' Fendi. Ooh, put that shit up, that's your damn too. Your bitch in here shaking that.